Welcome to Real Health with me, Karl Henry. Folks, have you ever felt that past experiences are holding you back? Feeling lost, anxious and overwhelmed are some of the challenges of modern life that we all go through. In her new book, The Steps, psychologist Dr Clodagh Campbell lays out a 10-step guide for overcoming these obstacles and living a more fulfilling life. Clodagh, welcome back to Real Health. How's it going?
It's great. Yeah, I'm delighted to be here.
It's lovely to meet you in person finally. The last time we met was on Zoom, right in the thick of COVID.
Yeah.
A very stressful time. How have you been since?
Great. Yeah, things have been going really well. I'm a very busy mom to 3 little girls.
Three
little girls.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Okay. I know you have 2 yourself.
2, one of each, yeah.
Yeah. So I had a baby in September. So between the book and the baby, life has been busy, but good. Yeah.
Oh, it's a busy schedule.
Yeah.
to say the least. The book, first of all, it looks fabulous. It feels, I was saying to you when you came in the door, it feels like a handbook or a hand guide. It's the size of it's really nice. The feeling of it's really, really good. I know you were saying it's kind of like a bedside book to dip in and out of.
Yeah, so my wish for the book is that people read it, then they read the 10 steps, but then that they put it on their bedside locker and then they reach for it on the days that they've had just a tough day, whatever is going on for them. They've had a fight with their partner, they need a bit of self-soothing, self-regulation, life is just really busy and they think, oh, I really need to meditate right now. Because 9 gorgeous meditations come alongside the book. So it just lives there. It's very accessible and it has lots of really tangible take-home exercises and journal prompts and things like that just those days where you need something to just ground you and calm you, that my book becomes that for them.
And have you done an audiobook version?
It's coming.
I was just going to say that because you have the kind of calming voice as to relax people. What made you write it? I think that's important. It's a nice place to start when people write a book. Like, why?
So as a psychologist, I have sat for years with people in the therapy room and the same thing comes up time and again. The question of how. I'm feeling really anxious. It's debilitating. It's like ruining my life. How do I feel better? My mood is really, really low. How do I overcome that? I'm going through grief and it's suffocating me. How do I survive that? It's always this question of how. And part of my work is helping people to understand what's going on for them and why they're experiencing what they're experiencing. But then to go a step further, how do we transform that for them? How does life start to feel that little bit more manageable? Because life is hard for all of us, myself included. We all go through ups and downs. And therapy can be really difficult to access. There can be waiting lists. It can be expensive. We have such busy lives that it can feel like a lot to give our time to the therapy 1 hour a week. So I wanted to bring something out that people could consume at home, be it at nighttime in bed, be it on a Saturday morning with their coffee, sitting on the couch, that was really accessible. But behind everything I do, the word that always comes is meaningful, that it's meaningful. It actually brings something to their lives and changes their life for the better. So that's where the book was born.
And have you seen a change, since or over the course of COVID and off the back of it, in what people are presenting with from a psychology perspective?
Certainly anxiety was really heightened after COVID. And I think we all went into that space of, oh God, now that life has paused, I'm realising how busy I was. And there's some beauty in just pausing and in the stillness. But it was almost like we were in that for 5 minutes and then we were racing through life again and even perhaps busier than we were previously. Mm-hmm. So anxiety is present for people, stress, overwhelm. It's like nowadays we almost wear our busyness as a badge of honour. It's like I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and isn't it amazing? But I'm exhausted. And often it's that for a couple of reasons. It could be, in work, it could be personal life, it could be hobbies. We're juggling so many balls and spinning so many plates. So it can be hard to just catch our breath amidst that and look after ourselves. And no wonder we're kind of coming to a place where then we're feeling burnt out or just like we are completely disconnected from ourselves and from everybody else around us.
Because that is the life that we live in, isn't it? It's like we've never as a race experienced anything like it before in terms of the busyness levels, the connectedness, that just always on the go, and we struggle to be. I read it recently in an article. We struggle to be bored now. The idea of sitting and just sitting is really difficult.
Yeah,
because we're so used to just being connected or pulled from all the time.
Oh my God, my husband is like the perfect example of that. You know, when you have an hour to yourself, he uses it to like do DIY or something.
Oh yeah, I clean. Yeah, that's my thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he does these jobs that definitely don't need to be done. And I'm always saying to him, just relax, like just put your feet up, put on sport or whatever. He finds it really hard to just be, but I've definitely cultivated the skill of just being over the last couple of years because I've really recognised how much it helps my nervous system. Mm-hmm. I've really reaped the rewards of like making time for myself and consciously choosing how I'm going to spend that time if I have an hour to myself, which is such a gift, you know. It's gorgeous.
And it's a learned skill.
Yes. That is something that, you know, I approached the end of 2023 really burnt out. It was around November and I'd had an incredibly successful year on paper. You know, I had a new podcast that had gone to #1. We had won awards. I had just signed my book deal. You know, on paper, everything was going really well. I think I had just hit 100,000 followers on Instagram. My private practice was thriving. And I was so tired. And I remember having a conversation with my friend and just saying to her something has to change because I just can't do this anymore. My kids are really little. I'm feeling disconnected from them, feeling disconnected from my husband. And it's funny because I think sometimes the universe really hears that and does something where you absolutely have to just pause and be still. And for me, it was falling pregnant with my little girl. I was really, really sick. I had hyperemesis with her, which I had with my 2 previous girls. But it was such a gift because it really showed me what slowing down was like. So I was in that position where couldn't do anything. I was literally bedbound. I'd worked so hard to build up a business. I had to say no to all of the opportunities that were coming and knocking. I wasn't able to see my clients. I literally just could do nothing but lie in bed. And then slowly, as I started to feel a little bit better, I didn't fill my schedule. I kind of just allowed myself. I had the book coming up that I needed to write, but it actually showed me how sitting down and doing one thing doesn't feel overwhelming. It's the 5 things that we're trying to balance at the same time that's really, really hard. So actually writing the book was a pleasure because I just focused solely on that. So it's definitely a skill, you know, saying no, creating that space for yourself, allowing yourself when you have that hour to just do nothing, to just put the feet up or to sit outside with a cup of coffee and to just be, which is definitely something that you have to almost get used to when we're not used to that way of living.
And that ties in with, you know, the guided meditations then, doesn't it? In the books, you're guiding people to a space of just being and just, you know, taking them away from the busyness of life. And it's something that people can, you know, get better at if they struggle with.
I was just talking about this morning with somebody. For me, certainly, meditation was not something that came easily for me. I'm the type of person I can be in my head a lot. You know, I'm thinking of, you know, what's for dinner tonight? Did I remember to book that appointment? I need to cancel the other appointment. I need to ring my mom and check in with her. You know, and even as I say that, I can see my voice is speeding up. We can go into that spiral, can't we? So with meditating, again, it's like doing it and building the skill showed me how beneficial it is, like experientially, because I know the science. I know that when we meditate, certain parts of our brain that shoot out cortisol and adrenaline shrink. So we're sending out less of those hormones that make us go into that fight or flight state, and we're releasing more serotonin, more dopamine, more of that, you know, those good happy hormones. So I know that scientifically, but actually doing the process where I was doing a 5-minute meditation and feeling really overwhelmed at the start and then feeling like I was floating coming out of it, you know, when you feel it and experience it, you're left wanting more, and your brain wants more. Your brain's reward system kicks in, and your brain starts shooting out those signals where it's like, do it more, it feels good. But yes, it was definitely a skill that I had to build. It's like riding a bike. We don't take that up overnight, and meditating is the same. And the other thing that I hear a lot from clients is my brain just doesn't work that way. I can't switch it off. I can't just stop thinking for 5 minutes. And it's not about that. It's not that we need to switch our brain off or stop thinking for 5 minutes, because our brain does that automatically. It's a human thing to happen. It's about when we find ourselves going off to what's for dinner, or did I reserve that restaurant, or whatever it is, that we recognize that and bring ourselves back to the moment. So absolutely, if there are people that are listening that think, I can't do that, you can. It's just about learning to do it and practicing it, even in that initial discomfort.
And of course, you're trying to regulate your nervous system. Like that fight or flight is one of the big results of being dysregulated.
Yeah. So learning to regulate my nervous system was life-changing for me. And I write about a client in the book, Alice. She came to me. She was a similar age to me. It was a couple of years ago. She was at the top of her game in her business. She was winning awards. Her business was thriving. It was like growing every year. She was taking on more staff. She came to me and she said, Clodagh, I'm desperate. I am desperate because I have no life. I have nothing outside of my business. And she had started to experience a lot of pain in her body. Her back was sore. She had a lot of gut discomfort. Her anxiety was through the roof. And you know, when you're in that state, it's really hard to actually see that there's another way. You know, I was saying to her, Alice, it's about regulating your nervous system and learning how to do that. And I explained that to her, and she was like, this is life-changing stuff. How did I not know this? It's not rocket science. It's actually quite easy when someone explains it to me in the way that you're doing. But it was also saying to her, you need to take a break. You need to slow down. You can't continue juggling all of these balls and expect for life to change without you actually making a change. So regulating our nervous system, a really simple way to think about it. We have a vagus nerve, which is the largest nerve in our body. It connects our brain to our gut. And when we learn to strengthen the vagal tone, like a bicep, so when you're in the gym, you're working on your bicep, you're growing it so that it's stronger, it becomes bigger. It's the same with our vagus nerve. And there are certain exercises that we can do, again, that aren't rocket science, that are actually quite simple. But when we do that, when we strengthen the vagal tone, it brings us back to rest and digest a lot quicker than previously we were able to do so. And when we're in that kind of really heightened fight or flight state, it's more familiar to us because we've practiced coming back down to earth. So we get there quicker and faster, and it's easier for us to get there. So when you're really panicked, when you activate your vagal tone, your vagus nerve, with exercises that are familiar to you, it's really transformative for you. I'm talking about things like meditation, journaling, counted breaths, or just, you know, allowing yourself to fall into a natural breathing pattern. It doesn't necessarily need to be counted. Sea swimming, I'm a big fan of sea swimming.
Yeah.
I hate it every day when I'm walking down to the sea, but you know, you never leave it regretting it. It's like the biggest dopamine hit. Going for a run, singing, humming, probiotics really help. So there are things that you can do, even a cold shower for, 30 seconds in the morning at the end of your regular shower. There's exercises that you can do to strengthen that vagal tone and bring yourself back down to earth. But really simply put, it's about slowing down at the same time. You know, what balls can I put down and can just stay on the ground for, a day, a week, a month, while I juggle what I absolutely have to. So for people that are listening that think my life is so overwhelming, it's so busy, it's relentless, it's really sitting down and thinking, what one thing can I change? Because that's all it needs to be.
So saying no is really, really important, but we're bad at it as a society.
We are. I think in Ireland, we have grown up, a lot of us, myself included, as people pleasers. We're taught to respect our elders, to say yes, to do the things that are being asked of us. I mean, I do it with my kids all the time. So it's about taking the risk sometimes of trying the no's and seeing what happens when you do so. Often it's not life or death. And it's okay if someone's pissed off at us. I think we can take that very personally, can't we?
Oh yeah, no one likes to upset anybody. It's kind of keeping the equilibrium of friendship and stuff, and you know, just by trying to please everybody, but you put yourself last, which is often the problem.
Yeah, but you know, it's normal to be a bit pissed off at people sometimes. Yeah. You know, it happens me in my life. I know my poor husband can annoy me from time to time, but that's okay. You know, our relationship survives it, and you know,
it's regular, isn't it? And you know, it's an important point for people listening in that, you know, it's normal to have ups and downs like that.
Yeah. And, you know, if it's in the work context, I'm sure your boss is annoyed at other people as well. But the more you do it, the more you put these boundaries in place for yourself. There's a step in the book, I think it could be maybe step 9, and it's about honouring your boundaries. Mm-hmm. But the more we do it, and the more that people experience us doing it, the more they get used to it, and the more they just kind of learn to deal with it.
And if you're always a people pleaser and you continue to do that, you'll stay being always the people pleaser.
Yeah, and then
will know that that's you, and they can come to you. Where if you back off and say no sometimes, they'll learn that actually, you know, you'll do things that you can.
Yeah, and you know, that's where the resentment often comes from as well. You know, you say yes, and then you find yourself feeling a bit angry. Maybe it's at your boss. You're thinking, he asks me to do this all the time. What about everybody else in the team? That resentment can build up, and that can be hard to carry and, you know, be hard to bear. So it can serve you in so many ways to say the no's and to take the risk and to realise that you will survive the outcome of saying the no and reap the rewards.
Chat to me about the inner child and serving your inner child. That's important.
Yes, so we all have a little boy or girl inside of us. And for me, certainly now, and I'm not sure if you are experiencing this yourself as a parent, Karl, but I can almost see my inner child through the eyes of my children. And I can see, you know, when they're unsteady in themselves, or when they're sad about something, or when they're really angry about something. And so often we can dismiss that inner child inside of us. We can invalidate how they're feeling. We can push it to the side. We can ignore them. But when we're really, really upset, that's when the inner child tends to come out. And if we can learn how to connect with our inner child and soothe our inner child, it often can really lower our anxiety or really lower the emotions that we are experiencing. It can actually be very powerful work to connect with your inner child.
Do people find it challenging?
I guess in the therapy room, when I'm guiding someone through it step by step, we do it together and we can go at their own pace. Mm-hmm. But that's why it was really important for me throughout the book to put in those exercises to help people to connect with their inner child, because it's something, you know, for the typical person sitting at home, if I say to them, connect with your inner child, they're saying, how the hell do I do that? You know, I have no idea where to even begin with. So that's why exercises, meditations, visualizations can be really, really helpful. Again, it's the steps, mm-hmm. the how-to, and it's really transformative.
And presumably with the how-to, like it does get, like everything we've talked about, it gets easier with practice. The more you do, the easier it gets. Yes.
And when I was writing the book, I was thinking of that as well. I was writing the book for people who had never, you know, done this type of work before, but also the really experienced reader. The people that have gone for therapy, that have meditated for years, that have done this work 1,000 times before. So I wanted the book to meet people where they're at. So that's why the reflective exercises are really powerful, because people are reflecting based on the world of experience and the wealth of experience that they have come to the book with. So no matter where people are, the book will speak to them and the book will guide them. But yes, you can absolutely build on these things and build on the skills and build on the saying no's and build on the learning to meditate and build on the grounding exercises and honouring your emotions. So it's really achievable. And as someone who has, you know, I've done lots of therapy in my own life, you know, from the other side of the chair where I'm the client, my life is really, really transformed. You know, I'm a lot calmer, I'm a lot more at peace within myself. It's very hard to shake me now. You know, previously in my life, if I had a fight with somebody or a conflict or, you know, something really difficult, or if I said a no, that could leave me really, really shaky.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
You sell that very calm kind of, strong image.
Yeah. It's been a journey. I struggled with anxiety my whole childhood and in my teens and in my 20s. So I'm somebody that, I can put my hand up and say, this has really, really helped me in my life, in my relationships, and how I feel about myself, my self-worth, in quietening that inner critic that can, come out so loudly in us. So I think that's why I wrote the book. I wanted to write the book that I needed when I was that anxious little girl, that anxious teen, and write the book that I know will change people's lives in the way that all this work has done for me.
There's nothing like experience, sure there's not. Life experience.
Yeah.
You can't buy that.
And it's the feeling of it, isn't it? It's the feeling of the change, and it's the hope that comes with that as well, I think. So often I will sit with clients and they will feel so hopeless and so despondent, and when you give them that little nugget where they think, I can make a change in my life. I'm sure you experience similar with your clients that you train, that their life might actually look like they want it to, whatever that means for them. Hope comes with that, and that's very powerful.
This is an awful question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. 3 things you would like our listeners to take away from the conversation today. I'm sure there are lots and lots and lots of them. We've kind of glanced, and kind of touched on the book content and what's in it. What would you like people to take away from the chat that we've had?
The first thing, and this motivates everything I do, it's the whole reason I became a psychologist. It's to help people realize that we are all so alike. Our internal struggles are all so similar, and often we criticize ourselves for feeling anxious or low mood or struggling in whatever way it is showing up for us in our lives, but we are all so alike. So for people listening, when they read the book, they'll get that, because I share so much of myself in it, and I share lots of examples from my clients. I have a podcast, Unspoken, that does the same. It's helping people feel more normal, more human. So that's the one thing. If you're struggling, you are such a normal human, I promise you. Number 2, life can feel easier. When you give yourself this help and this support and the gift of doing this work, doing this healing work, it will change things for you. I'm throwing around really big words like life-changing, but this work literally is life-changing. It's self-care in its purest form. If you want to do one thing for yourself, it's this work that you can lower your anxiety, regulate your nervous system, heal your inner child, honor your boundaries, honor your emotions. It is really transformative work. So yeah, you're not alone. There's hope. You can do this work, and this work is going to change your life. And number 3, I'm not sure how this will come across, and I hope it comes across in the right way, but I see the book as a gift. A gift for the person that's sitting at home and life is feeling really, really hard. So pick up the book and let this be your first step. Or, there's often people in my life that are going through a hard time. Maybe it's grief. Maybe they've had a miscarriage. Maybe they're on a fertility journey. Maybe their relationship is just broken up. And I always think to myself, what can I do to help that person? And, you send them maybe flowers, or you send them a card. Buy the book and gift them the book, because that's where it came from too, that idea of how can you help the people around you. And I wanted it to be very giftable, and that came through in the name, the cover. There's a famous psychologist, I think she's American or Canadian, and she was going to name one of her books, It's Me, I'm the Problem, It's Me. And I was thinking, that is not a giftable book.
No, that's for sure. The book is called The Steps, 10 Lessons from Therapy on Healing, Finding Calm and Creating Lasting Inner Peace. Dr Clodagh Campbell, her book is out in all bookstores now and online as well. As ever, you know where we are at Karl Henry PT on Instagram, realhealth.independent.ie, and on the Irish Independent website. And we'll see you next week for more Real Health. Slán go fóill.